So I just wanted to take a couple minutes here to go over the expectations for this image filter project because I know we haven't really talked about it in a while. So in this project, you will download the image filter starter code off of the UTeach textbook website. And essentially what you're going to be doing here is creating 3 image filters inside of this starter code. So let's go ahead and just take a look at what this starter code looks like. So I've got it open over here. And you'll see there's a lot of things in here. So let's just go ahead and run the code. And when you run it, you get a menu that looks like this. So now there's a lot of pieces in this code, and most of the really hard work is done for you. So you'll notice we've got our setup and our draw and a bunch of variables declared up top here. We haven't actually discussed what a Boolean variable is. A Boolean is just a variable that's either true or false. So here in the we initialize all these Boolean variables to false because a pic has not been loaded, grayscale is not in effect, etc. And then we have a couple of integers for pic width and pic height, and then our image variable. Then we have our setup and our draw. And then all of these things here are actually just creating these rectangles over on the right side of the screen and all the text there. So all the stuff that makes it look nice, we didn't want you to have to do that. And then this stuff here is so I need to load a picture in here first. So let's go ahead and load this picture of my cat. Great. That's Fat Kitty. He's sadly no longer with us. Anyway, but if I click grayscale, then a grayscale goes into effect, and then this part of the text is just gonna highlight grayscale in yellow when I click it. And then effect 1, effect 2, effect 3, which we've not created yet. So all of this stuff here is stuff it's already done for you. You don't have to worry about it. This is the part of the code that is actually loading the picture in. And then here's the part you have to worry about. So effects code. These are the 3 things you're going to create. So the grayscale one is given to you, which one means you cannot turn one of your effects into grayscale because it's already been done for you. But we see what the code looks like to create this grayscale. All right, so when I click grayscale, then everything becomes gray. And then it's just averaging the colors and then coloring every pixel on the image with that color. So this should remind you of what we did in that raster starter project, manipulating an image at the pixel by pixel level. So these are the 3 things that you have to do. You have to create the code for the other 3 effects, right? Now notice once you put the code in there, it's going to happen. So like they're already modified, that they highlight, and the effect will automatically turn on. You just have to create what the effect is. So I made actually a sample of a couple of effects. So here is the one I made. So notice right away you can see I changed the Boolean variables from effect 1 and effect 2 to the actual thing that I'm doing. So when I run this, there we go. Let's load in this picture of a dog driving a car. I made this picture in Photoshop when I was bored at a training a long time ago. So notice I added a couple effects here. So I added one that will invert the colors of the image. That's a cool looking dog. And I added one that flips the image horizontally. And then notice like I changed the text. So when you turn in your project, you wouldn't want it to say effect 1, effect 2, and effect 3 on the side because that would be boring. Wouldn't make sense. So you want to describe in there what the effect is. And same thing with the name of the variable. So like I said, instead of Boolean effect 1, this is now Boolean invert color because that's what I'm doing, right? So we want to use variables that are meaningful. And then you can see I'm going to... So now let's go ahead and look at the rubric real quick. So in the rubric, we have, you've got to use loops and conditionals correctly and appropriately. So this one, you shouldn't have to worry about this part of the rubric because if you're making a proper filter, There's no way to do it without using loops and conditionals. And then this is, so the row for filter 1 and filter 2 are identical. Includes an image filter that alters the image at the pixel by pixel level and not using a built-in processing filter. So processing does have some built-in filters that you can apply, but the whole point here is to write your own filters. Filter 3 says program includes an image that alters the image at the pixel level by reordering pixels. So essentially one of your filters has to be something like this one, right? Where we flip the image, okay? And then the other two can be things that invert that change the coloring. You could add sepia filters, whatever kind of silly filters Instagram uses. I don't know. And then we have aesthetics and functionality. So this is like making your program readable. Your filters should have appropriate names and the buttons should match. So again, this is the changing the names, making your code readable. And documentation. So we've got to have that separate document, either a Word doc or a Google Doc that you submit with your project that details how to use the code, what limitations it might have, etc., the functionality purpose. In addition, you should also put comments within the code. So in the starter, there's some good examples of how comments should be used in code. So these things, and to put a comment in code, you just, anywhere in that line, you type 2 slashes and then it becomes a comment. So this part is not going to affect the way the code runs. It's a comment to the person reading the code. So maybe here in the grayscale code, and I think it's already there. Yeah, so the comments in the grayscale code, again, tell you how to use this part of the code, right? So I think that's about it. You are in pairs for this project, and you should know who your partner is already. This is an easy project to divide and conquer, so you don't have to work on the same computer, because you could have one person working on one effect and then another person working on the second effect, right? And then at the end, just kind of copy-paste your codes together. When you submit, you'll attach one file with the processing code and then another for documentation. On the submission page, you just click Add Another File, and you can add multiple files to your submission. All right. Now, remember, I know I'm not in class to help you guys out today, but Google is a programmer's best friend. You can Google things like how to invert colors in processing, and I'm sure that you'll find some great descriptions, because every programmer at some point has had the same question you has had and then has Googled the question and then written about it, right? So good luck, guys.